Good evening, everyone. Tonight on Unraveling the Darkness podcast, we have Henry Lee, who is the owner of the Old Gilchrist County Jail in Florida. Along with him is going to be Patrick, who is kind of the key master. He overlooks the building when Henry isn't there. And they're working on virtual ghost hunts, and we're going to have Ron, who's helping them set that up. And you're going to see that all tonight on Unraveling the Darkness. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. As you see, it's just me at this point. Jason had some prior engagements that he had to take care of tonight. So it'll just be me, but it looks like we have some really cool guests talking to him before the show. The owner, the caretaker type person, and their internet person who's going to help them set up some virtual tours from the Old Gilchrist County Jail. To give you some other stuff, Way Out West hasn't really done much last month. We're looking at doing some things in the future here, and we will keep you all updated. And then next week, Jason will be back with us. So right now, I'm going to bring in all our guests representing the Old Gilchrist County Jail. Good evening, guys.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you all tonight?
Doing great. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks for having us.
Good. So let's jump into this. Henry, I got some notes beforehand that you have been the owner of the jail since March of 21.
That is correct.
What made you want to purchase it?
Well, I'll tell you the short version because we're limited to about an hour. So my wife and I were in a propane explosion in 2014. Which we had a near-death experience, my wife more than I. She had passed away a couple times to the hospital, but we had started seeing, like when they say the veil gets thinner when you're near-death experience, and we seen some unexplained things, probably for another show, another evening. But after several years of recovering and litigations over the responsible parties for the explosion. In 2021, I'm going through Facebook and I see for sale one of the most haunted places in Florida. And we were living in Sarasota at the time. And I'm usually a big procrastinator, but I didn't procrastinate on this. I called up the realtor and I said, so tell me a little bit about this location. And he told me it had 20 years of paranormal investigating and it was actually haunted. And I said to my wife, we looked at each other and said, okay, we'll be the judge of that. And when we showed up, it was about 3 hours from Sarasota to Trenton, Florida. We stopped at the front door and we said the Lord's Prayer. And we asked the spirits, the resident spirits, hey, would it be all right if we come on in? We mean you no harm. We're just thinking about being the new caretakers here. And at the end of the day, that's what set us apart from other people that were wanting to buy the jail, Zach Baggins being one of them, which didn't work out so well for him and her because she started talking a bunch of mad stuff about Zach and she got contacted by his attorneys. But again, that's another story for another day. So after going through a little bidding war against several other interested parties, we ended up buying it. And back in 2021, it was in rough shape. The windows were all busted out of the gathering room or the sheriff house, which was built in 1967. Fortunately, it was never used, but it was very run down. had a big hole in the roof. It was raining inside of it, and it was very unkempt. So over the past 5 years, we've done a lot of great things, amazing things with it. One of the first things we realized early in that it had never been historically recognized in Florida or the National Archives. So took it upon myself to get those things in place. Got it recognized here in Florida. And then about several months later, it was recognized in the National Archives, which you and your followers could look that up. We're very proud of that. It was a daunting task, to say the least.
That's a big step to actually do that and go through quite a bit of paperwork and stuff.
Well, especially in Trenton, because they're where they kept the records from Gilchrist's start in 1925 to 1934. All the records burnt up in an old. They kept the records in an old farmhouse, wooden farmhouse, and they lost all those records. And then, coincidentally enough, in the 50s, there was a propane explosion at the where they kept the records at the courthouse, and they lost a bunch more records. So when I say it was a daunting task finding, history about the jail, it really was. There's still a lot of unknowns about the jail per se, but we were able to give the historical archives enough historical information. And last January, it went on the list. So like I said, we're very excited about that moving forward. And
when was the jail started? When was that building built?
that was built in 1927 and opened in 1928 to an 8-cell jail. They kept the ladies downstairs in 3 cells. The men were upstairs in the 5 cells upstairs. Unique thing about the jail is the sheriffs never stayed there overnight.
Oh.
They just left the inmates in there alone from after dinner time until breakfast time. The sheriffs would go home to their houses, and they would lock the inmates in there unsupervised, which isn't so bad in 7 of the cells because there's only a 2-man cell. But cell 4, which is one of our really active cells, actually held 6 inmates, and a lot of transpirance happened there. There was a hanging that actually took place in that cell. Records say suicide. Paranormal investigators and mediums say he was strung up. Very, very heavy feeling upstairs. When you get there's several men together, one's got to be the leader and one's got to be, how that pecking order runs. So, definitely, we do a lot of investigations in cell 4.
That's pretty unusual, I think, for not having someone there overnight as far as some kind of authority. Like we've been to, the Squirrel Cage Jail in Iowa, and they had 3-level jail, on the circular turntable, but the warden or the sheriff did live in an apartment upstairs. So at least there was always someone on site. It just seems like it'd be a little unusual that there wouldn't be.
Well, let's face it, Trenton only has 2,000 residents now, so it was such a small jail that, granted the sheriffs were close. Trenton's a small town, so one of the sheriffs actually lived. You could see the old house across the way, so they were close, but
still close. Yeah. Okay.
And that's why the sheriff house they built in 1967. A year before the jail closed. That was the reason why it was built on, because Florida state legislator said, hey, for just a county jail, you got a lot of deaths coming out of that jail. A lot of, they come in the morning, sweep up the mess, start a new day. Unfortunately, by the time that sheriff house opened up, they'd opened up the bigger jail, second jail there in Trenton for Gilchrist County, which is still in operation. But come to find out, they never really used the sheriff house, but we definitely use it. What's where Patrick is sitting right now is in the gathering room, we call it. not the sheriff house, but
Now, before the show, you were telling me that when you bought it, Patrick almost came with it. It sounded like
Yeah,
he's been there. You know, you're saying 25 years he's been around the building, so it's like you bought a building and gained a friend, right?
we really did. We really did. The rest of the previous owners team, kind of, they didn't keep in contact with us. But I can honestly say it was part of Arlene, like it's part of myself. It was hard for her to let go with her age. She was in her 70s when she sold it. So I meant no disrespect when I said the place was in shambles. I mean, I'm 59 this year, and we've done a lot of work to the jail. I couldn't imagine trying to restore it the way we got it in my 70s. There'd have been no way. So,
Wow. Patrick, let's go to you. You've been there that long. What are some of the hauntings that you're seeing in that building?
well, there's been reports of shadow figures touching. We've had people try to, well, there goes the light again, try to like provoke when you're not supposed to. And we kind of stress that, and that's one of the things that we tell people when they come in, not to instigate or provoke, but you always run into one or two that try to see if it's real. I've been pushed into jail. I've been shoved down the stairs. I had a couple visiting the jail, and the lady said to her husband, she said, "Hang on to the railings because sometimes people get pushed coming down the stairs." And she said that, I got pushed into her and she fell into her husband.
Wow.
I've seen people get scratched. I've seen people zone out. They get, I'm not going to use the word, I'm not even going to say the word, but I think what happens is, we are vessels in a sense. And I think when people spend too much time in one location, they kind of get themselves absorbed and they kind of zone out. I've seen that happen where we just ask them to step outside and kind of get away from the building a little bit, and kind of recoup. Boys, yeah, we had a mimic. There was an investigating team here. I was watching the cameras. That's what I do when I'm here. I just keep an eye on everybody. Everybody's safe. And
do you want to show the followers the cameras you speak of? Turn your phone around.
Yeah, here we go. Tell me if you can see them, Henry.
Yeah, we can see them.
You can see them.
Yeah. So I was watching an investigator, and I could have swore he came out of this cell, which is cell 4 up here, and go around the corner. And then I heard him in the back room where Henry keeps a lot of artifacts, like handcuffs and pictures and wheelchairs and stuff. And I asked him if he was upstairs, and he said, "No, I've been down here all this time." And I said, "No, I just saw you upstairs." He said, "No, I've been downstairs." So we asked, he had a SP7 playing, and he said, "Were you mimicking me upstairs?" And the SP7 said, "Yes, that was me." And that was a good catch. Matter of fact, we had a couple come in, and a lady was wearing a skirt with shorts built in, and Henry was giving his dialogue to the jail, the history, and walking them through, and the lady's skirt lifted up, and I was standing behind her. I didn't touch her, and I believe they brought the film up where he could actually see her skirt come up a little bit. So yeah, there's some activity that is new. I mean, every time somebody comes in here, they get something new.
Well, I'll jump in on that. It seems like with the jail, the different paranormal investigators come in, they're bringing different energies, and different experiences will happen depending on, what they bring into the jail. I've heard disembodied whistles, disembodied moans, seen things just fly across the room, nothing major, little cups, this and that, fly across the room. It seems like every time I scoff at something and say, yeah, okay, sure, you kind of caught that, sure, you caught that when I'm watching these paranormal shows. I don't scoff at things anymore because the longer I spend at this jail, the more I see.
Now, is there any spirits that you've been able to like go back and check the history and know that you have this person there?
Yes, sir. There's Sam Colton. We actually have an artifact at the jail. Sam Colton was a bank robber. He robbed the local bank there in Trenton. Somebody donated the cage that was actually around the vault from the old bank, and we have the dockets some of the years. And Sam Colton met his demise there at the jail. He was definitely an inmate there, and we pick up on his energy. There's the cage that I speak of that was around the bank vault. The paranormal investigators have been getting activity from Sam years before we even bought the jail. There's another inmate, Harley Connor. He actually was the man that murdered one of our local sheriffs, Sheriff Red. He was only a sheriff for about 5 months. Went out to a domestic case and met his demise. Harley was put into the jail, and we get investigators picking up on Harley Connor as well. We have another spirit named Robert. We just found out from a medium the other day he prefers Bobby. He's the main guy. He's big man on campus. He has the most energy. He gets into the most trouble, let's put it that way. Doesn't really care for me. I talk too much about his past there at the jail. He doesn't really appreciate it. He's on more than several occasions took opportunities to let me know through mediums, through I won't say possess, I will say a commandeer, a person. In fact, it was just that October, we were doing an investigation, and one of my close friends, very mild, meek man, but very open, he blurts out, you got a real big effing mouth. I look at him and I'm like, he just kind of looked at me. He's like, I don't know why I just said that. And, we're going about our business. And he's like, you know how to get up and just kick your ass right now. And he looked at me again and he's like, I don't know what's making me say this. I'm like, I know exactly who's making you say this. Just being influenced by Robert. So that's what Patrick was saying about as far as provoking. We do warn people that, hey, you want to treat these spirits with respect, because, we don't know what their capabilities are, being their energy beings per se, our energy. You never know just how far they could go. And I hypothesize if they get real mad at you, they could short circuit our heart out.
Well, and I mean, where you're at, they weren't good people in life, right? So,
well, that's kind of, you never know. Sometimes people get wrapped up in stuff, make mistakes, just like any of us.
True.
Yeah, that doesn't mean to treat them with any less respect than we're treating each other.
Right.
But yeah, for the most part, you're right. There's, a lot of sorrow, a lot of anger, anguish. It's not a fun place to be per se.
Right. So you're working on trying to bring people who are at home into investigations there. Is that right?
That is correct. I'll let Ron take this over. We've been working on the system for about 3.5 years now.
Okay.
Ron's our technical guy. He works with robotics cameras. Ron, please go ahead and take over here.
Hello, thanks for having me. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Ron.
Yeah, we installed, or Lee bought, and we both together installed some high-end robotics IP cameras in all of the cells and one stairwell and one hallway. Cameras are quite advanced, about as advanced as you can get. High definition audio, we're picking up EVPs. Now, I'll say right from the outset, I'm not paranormally trained. I don't know much about it. These two guys are the experts, but I am learning, and I'm learning quickly. Because if I monitor cameras late at night to check on the streaming, and I have my headphones on, I can hear the mumblings and the feet shuffle, and sometimes there's a lot of chatter in that jail, and there's nobody around. So it's pretty interesting, to say the least. But the cameras can do is a thermal lens, an optical lens, infrared illuminator, and a high definition audio capture device to get the EVPs. We're recording them all the time on a network attached storage device at the jail, and we are capturing motion only for investigations. For example, when somebody's in the cells and there's motion, that gets captured also on a different Alice, so we can put any activity there. But we have 24 hours a day recording locally at the jail. Yes, and there's
Which our
SD cards.
Which our subscribers, they'll be able to watch the different paranormal teams coming in. They have 24-hour access to the jail. They get to virtually hunt with the ghost, with the paranormal investigators. They see hours before, even days before the investigators come in, right after they leave. So what that brings is credibility to the evidence they're getting. Our viewers versus Hollywood that, kind of splices everything together and works their Hollywood magic. They're getting to see nothing. There's no trickery or there's no faking. There's one of the cameras now that Patrick is went to one of the cells.
Pretty cool that they're like
we'll have a website
all that.
Yeah, they'll have a website that they can actually, while the investigations are going on, chit chat back and forth, as well with each other. It's a way they can help a historical place restore and function without charging the paranormal investigators an arm and a leg. Like you'll probably run into a few places that are quite active and quite expensive. This is a way we can keep the cost down for the paranormal investigators. And like I said, it gives our viewers an opportunity to see paranormal investigating live in real time, different tools, different energies. Some nights are going to be good nights. Other nights are going to be fantastic nights. And it'll give the viewer from home an opportunity to experience this place without spending a boatload of money on traveling to these places. Ron is going to be setting up in the next few weeks. In each cell, we're going to have a REM pod or a K2 meter that's hooked to the low voltage. They'll run 24 hours as well. So the viewers at home can, witness those things going on with the EVPs. Plus, those tools will be in there for paranormal investigators with their own stuff to see if they work in conjunction with each other. It's something that's it's cutting edge, and I'll turn it back to Ron. He can talk a little more about that.
Yeah, everything's low voltage in the jail except for the lights in the hallways. But Lee, I think if I understand, those during investigations can be turned off, electricity turned off, so there's no AC power anywhere in the jail. Therefore, no.
Yes, when we have the electric done here in the next couple of weeks, the switch will be all the way into the sheriff house to where you shut the switch off. that shuts the electric down completely in the cells.
Wow.
And anything that's in the cells is already just low voltage anyway, power over Ethernet. The camera is power over Ethernet and powers all three modules in the camera. And the infrared illuminator is also PoE powered. And we ran extra cable when we installed everything for future. And we're glad we did, because that extra cable is going to power the ghost hunting tools that we'll have in the cells also. So it worked out well. The technology, one thing I'll say is that the thermal lens, and then Patrick, I don't know if you're close to the monitor right now, but the side of each camera is a dual camera. It gives you an optical 8-megapixel optical view, and the other one is a thermal view. That thermal lens, we got it 3.5 years ago, was the best you could possibly get. I had to sign a paper saying I wasn't with the military to even receive those from Germany. And because all this German engineering, German devices, robotics cameras, from Germany. And I just found out today, Lee, and I never told you, that sensor is no longer around. They have a new one, same price, ultra clear and sensitive. They told me that it's unbelievable. So there'll be more improvements down the road when we can do that too. So that's the basic 4 components in the cells: is optical lens, thermal lens, audio module, and the infrared. There's a speaker also, but in reality, if you have subscribers and there's multiple people logged in, you can't have them talking to the cell. It can only be one person, and who control that. So the actual speaker is not really going to get used, but microphone certainly does, and it is very sensitive, picks up a lot of things, most of which we can explain. And that's one of the keys, I think Lee will say, is that we're not here to trick anybody. We're here to debunk as much as we can. These thermal lenses have to recalibrate every minute or two, and it's random. It's not exact, but when they do, it sounds like somebody's using a drill, and then two loud cracks. And we know what that is. That's internal workings of the camera. There's other sounds that we hear sometimes. We know what that is, maybe coming from outside, maybe it's traffic noise or kids playing in the park. We know those.
Hence part of the virtual ghost hunting, because as the subscribers watching, they need to say, okay, well, this is a camera noise, or that was a noise from outside. But funny story about Ron is we've been working on this system for about almost 3 years, and we finally got the audio in place. He called me one day and he's like, I'm hearing doors closing, I'm hearing mumbling, I'm hearing footsteps throughout the jail. This is all stuff that Patrick and I have experienced ourselves. But now this high-end camera's picking it up. He goes, Lee, I think this place really is haunted. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's why we're doing this. Got to give credit to Cheryl. She, because, we could watch this from our house. We had people from London watching, and she went, well, could we have our own channel and actually be able to broadcast this out to people to watch? Because like I said, Hollywood has kind of run its course on these shows. They're more for entertainment purposes. This is an opportunity for people to actually investigate from their own house. Totally interactive with the other subscribers. Like I said, especially at night. We had just an investigation about 3 weeks ago where some ladies were walking into cell 4, and you could clearly see not a shadow, but a white mist go into the cell with them. Caught that on camera. There's like I said, you see Paranormal Caught on film, and they're catching all this stuff with very low end, more or less Ring doorbell kind of cameras. But when we first got the place, I asked Ron, I'm like, well, what's the best camera on the planet? If these low quality cameras are catching this stuff, what can you offer? Because this is what he does for a living. He's been working on surveillance systems for different places, schools, jails, different applications. And happy to say that no one's ever used this system for the sole intent of capturing paranormal activity, which we're excited because I'm pretty sure Ron's going to win some kind of award through Mobotics here, where they will be flying him over to Germany, and they have an award for the most innovative use of the camera systems. And I think he's got it hands down myself.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. Now, forgive me for not having everything because usually Jason's running the whole production side of things, and he had something else going on tonight. Are you doing this through a website, or are you going to do this through Patreon? Where are you going to do this at?
We are actually, and this is part of why it took so long. We're actually having our own website. I can send you the link, but it's Casper with a K, CasperInvestigations.com, where people for the price is probably going to be $15 a month, $150 a year to have this system where you can watch it from your phone, participate through your laptop, your computers. Now people love to watch, get online and watch these things. And I believe this is going to be a great opportunity for people that are into the paranormal to really see how real paranormal investigators act. We don't run from the room when something happens. We start asking questions. We get excited.
We go towards the noise.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the reasons it took 3 years to get to this point, the fact that Trenton was so rural. There was no decent internet. You couldn't use Starlink because you get a storm like we have here today in Florida, and you'd lose your connection. Everything else was DSL, just way too slow to broadcast 10 simultaneous feeds from high-end cameras. But luckily, I think it was 3 companies came in and all put fiber in Trenton, all in a matter of a few months. So we have a 2 gig pipeline.
Nice.
Each way in the jail. So that solved that problem completely. The camera images got much clearer, so because we have no bandwidth issues anymore. Now it's at the streaming part, working out all the streaming and the bugs in that, and the website's being built. It's all going to come together at once. We have a new visitor here.
Yeah. I want to go back over to the hauntings real quick. Patrick, you've 25 years you've been in this building. What's the most unnerving thing that has happened to you in there?
Well, honestly, recently I think it was we had within the last few months, correct me if I'm wrong, Henry, like 3 investigating teams come out. And it was a gentleman's name was Joe. He had a team come out here. They were upstairs in the hallway. They were getting some good EVPs, good responses. And then out of nowhere was this very loud whistle, which we've heard whistles before. So one of the ladies went to venture down the hallway, and she started to go into cell 7. And then she dipped back out. She goes, I feel kind of uneasy. There's something in there. Nobody was going. So I figured, okay, fine, I'll go. So I went down to cell 7, sat in there. And as I was coming out, Joe had said, it's right behind you. I can see it. And as soon as I turned, between the upstairs shower area and cell 8 was darker than normal. And it's like the darkness was like coming towards me. And being an ex-cop, I kind of threw out some verbiage, which I won't repeat. And I put my hand out, basically saying, back up, back off.
And when you experience a shadow figure, shadow man, whatever you want to call it, like Patrick was just saying, it's the darkest black you've ever seen. I mean, blacker than this shirt. It's blacker than the darkness around it.
And Joe told me is when I turned to come down, and he said he could see it like hovering, like had his arms out, like it was going to kind of grab me. And I turned around again, and I just put my hand out, and I said, get back, get back. You can't do this.
As far as
Right.
me with that same question, Aaron.
Yeah.
Couple things. We're doing Estes up in the hallway. Actually, we're using, it's called the Delco experiment. It's a flashing goggles.
Mhm.
You know what the Estes is.
Like that's just with the bright goggles.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Spirit box on, and I'm rambling out the responses I'm hearing on the box. And Patrick was there, my wife was there, and I blurred out, something's touching my foot. They thought it was just something that was in the spirit box, and then I pull everything off, and I'm like, something's touching my foot. And when I say touching my foot, I had sneakers on. It's not that it was touching the top of my sneaker. It was actually touching the top of my foot, like something was in my shoe. And just about 4 weeks ago, Patrick and I were waiting for Ron to come up from Daytona to work on the system. And we hear a thump upstairs. We're at the bottom of the stairs, and it kind of caught our attention. And as clear as day, there was a disembodied moan. Whoa. And when you hear the investigator say, it sounds unearthly. I've heard noises before, but not that much audible, not that clear. And it sounded like it was coming from a different dimension.
It was
really
eerie. It was eerie. It sounded like something out of a Stephen King film. I swear to God.
Wow.
Because we kind of looked at each other as if to say, "Did you hear that?" You know, because it just caught us off guard to hear that, like, unearthly groan. It was like, and we knew it came upstairs.
And then I've seen.
We just kind of shook our head, kind of giggled a little bit. Well, that's jail for you, I guess.
I've seen things fly across the room. Not a lot, but had a lady from Univision, Kiki, her name is. They were filming, and we had Armando from, at the time it was called War Party, that was visiting the jail. We were drinking little espressos. He's like, "We'll save the cup." So we have this mannequin of a sheriff that was downstairs at the time. He's upstairs now. But I'd set the little cup on its shoulder. Now that cup sat there for hours, Aaron. I'm talking hours. Nothing changed. The doors were open. There was no wind. That cup, it's like somebody went and it flew across the room. Like I said, it's not like the movie Poltergeist where everything in the room's flying around. But, you know, to see that actually happen with my own eyes, knowing darn well there was no other explanation, because if it just fallen off, it would have just dropped. No, this thing actually went about 5-6 feet across the room and arced and hit the floor. That was an unnerving kind of thing that happened. You just never can tell at the jail. Just when I think I'd seen it all, I haven't seen nothing yet.
Yeah. Now, Ron, you said you're not a paranormal guy, right?
No, well, I never was a terrible skeptic or anything, but I didn't know much about it before we started this project. My wife knew kind of the same thing, Celtic religions and earth religions and stuff. When she was at the jail, Lee, I don't know if anyone else ever experienced this, going up the stairwell, she saw a cat, silhouette of a black cat, ran down the stairs, ran right in front of her. Has anybody else ever reported animals?
No, but when we first got to jail, there was a cat we called Shadow Cat. That was at the jail. Shadow Cat's not around anymore, but
The shadow.
I've had experiences with spirits of animals, little dogs, cats before. So this is not something we hear a lot of from the jail, but it does not surprise
Maybe
me.
Shadow Cat is now a shadow cat.
Yeah.
Maybe. Shadow was a black cat too.
So going in and installing these cameras and stuff, is there anything that happened there that kind of caught you off guard? Ron?
Do you mean just during the installation or after the installation?
During the installation, when you're going into the building, if
Yeah.
you know, most people going in that have been going in are paranormal investigators.
Yeah.
You're this guy that really doesn't do paranormal stuff or hasn't investigated a building, and now you're going in putting these cameras in. Was there something that kind of caught you off guard while you were doing this that you heard or saw?
A few times my chest would get tight in certain areas, like the stairwell. That seems to be pretty calm there, and inside in some of the cells. But this is usually daytime work, and we were noisy. We're running power equipment, working really hard. Never thought about it too much, but there were a few times where I felt something.
Mm-hmm.
Having never experienced it before, it was hard for me to say what it was. But
Right, to kind of pin it down and say this is what was going on.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't. There's
And I
no
must
question
say,
in my mind it's haunted. There's no question.
Nah.
So Henry, what are you charging for how many hours and how much does it cost for a team to come in there and investigate?
We asked for a donation for $50 a person. Usually had the investigators come in about 2-3 in the afternoon. And we let them investigate. I mean, if the activity starts, going downhill at 12, 1 o'clock, we leave it up to the paranormal investigators to make the call when it's time to stop. We don't allow anybody to sleep in there. That's not going to fly with the codes of Gilchrist County. But, hey, it's like getting up at a movie when it's just started getting good. We're not certainly going to say like some places do, oh, I'm sorry, but it's 1:30. It's time to go. If 1:30 it's jumping, we ain't leaving because Patrick and I are paranormal investigators as well. When it's jumping like that, if they want to leave, that's fine. But Patrick and I will break out our tools and we'll stay. But usually when they're paying and things are happening, but I will say this. It doesn't have to be 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning to get activity. You set up those tools at any time of the day and start asking the questions and start going through the motions of investigation. They're usually going to show up, even on the slowest day. Because let's face it, you can fool some of the people some of the time. You can't fool all the people all the time. And on the worst night, the EVPs are still off the chart. And now, I always knew Casper would catch these EVPs, and it has not let us down. Like I said, we're just in the past 3 months, we've really broken some major hurdles that we were having, and the what we're getting. I know our subscribers are going to love what they're seeing. With, like I said, the different tools, the different teams, the EVPs, being able to interact with each other. And like I said, it's a great way to support the restoration and the upkeep of the jail itself. And when that monetary thing is, fulfilled, we'll also be on the same channel. My wife and I will be going to different places. We investigate all over the planet as well. We'll be doing a big UK trip. We have people from UK to come to the jail. Australia, Spain. We have different teams coming, Cuba, that are coming in because they've heard about this jail. That's what we bought. We bought the jail. We bought its history as well as far as paranormal investigating. You go back years and years and years before we owned the place, and these paranormal investigators, even from them, are getting the same kind of answers. There's differences, but for the most part, Sam, Robert, Frank, Fred, Harley, Nancy, these are names that are coming up all the time, even from years back.
Real quick, a couple minutes ago, Patrick, I saw you kind of looking around. Are you getting some stuff going on while we're talking about it?
That's what usually happens.
Like Ron was saying earlier, sometimes you'll hear shuffling. Like I thought, because everything's locked. And like when I come in, I make sure the outside gate's closed, which is the perimeter fence. Now I do leave the front Sally door open, and for ventilation. I can see by the cameras, I can see the hallways and stuff. There's nobody in here, but you can still hear somebody walking, and now and then I have to look to make sure I don't have a physical body walking in on me, unexpectedly.
Yeah.
But I could hear shuffling by the staircase. So that's why I keep looking, because I'm like, all right, guys, enough's enough,
You're a
K2,
you're a trigger item, Patrick.
they
Yes,
don't
he
like
is.
me. Well, I don't know if they like me, dislike me, or just deal with me. I can't figure that out.
Well, little
See, now
backstory
it's
on
going on.
Patrick too. Little backstory on Patrick too. Before he got with Arlene, he was a
Oh,
detective there in Trenton.
Oh.
And there was an actual murder that happened in the early 2000s after the jail was closed.
Oh.
They dumped I'll let Patrick tell this story, how he
Did you see
came
that, Henry?
about.
Oh yeah, your K2's going off there.
That does not surprise me. But why don't you tell the viewers a little background of the Willie J murder that happened there at the jail, and how you actually got involved with the jail 25 years ago.
Well, it started out when Miss Arlene had the jail. She used to do like Halloween trick or treaters would come by, and she'd give like free tours, for donations or whatever. So a deputy and I came in and to investigate and just to check it out. Not long after that, I went from a road deputy to an investigator, and we got a call about a body dump on a county hunting road in our county. Of course, I was the investigator on call. Went out there. Yeah, there was a body on the ground. Make a long story short, once the investigation was cleared and it was a suspect in custody and sentenced and sent off to the state prison system, come to find out that, because I sat in on the autopsy, that the gentleman that was killed in the jail and left there. He shot twice with a small caliber handgun, left in the jail to bleed out, but he didn't bleed out. They came back a few days later, took the body out, 2 12-gauge shotgun rounds, one to the chest, one to the head, and did a body dump.
Wow.
Right there in that room that Patrick is sitting in is where that transpired.
So once everything was cleared and the jail was processed for evidence during the investigation, it was given back to Miss Arlene, and it was cleaned up. She had a team come out to clean up all the blood splatter. So, but for the longest time, people would come in and get excellent evidence about this individual's spirit or energy, or however terminology you want to use, here in the jail. And they were getting names. So about, I don't know, maybe a year or so later, I was in the reserves at the time. So after I came back from deployment, I didn't want to be an investigator anymore. I went back on the road. So I came to the jail to see Miss Arlene, and she let me walk through when they had their Halloween thing. They had a medium from Miami. Don't know the lady's name. She introduced me to the lady, and the lady right off the bat said, "Willie wants to talk to you." And I'm like, "Okay, Willie who?" Because I didn't, my mind was somewhere else. And she goes, "Willie Jane." I said, "Ellison?" She goes, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, I'll play along." I didn't say that, but I said, "Okay, I'll play along." And that's all I remember. Next thing you know, I'm out in the street with Arlene and the medium from Miami. She sat there and she says, "Yeah, Willie wanted to talk through you to me, so we had to take you outside."
Wow.
And that's a God's honest truth, because I'm standing outside and I woke up and I wasn't affected in any way. It was just like I was here.
Checked out.
I'm out there.
Awesome time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is all.
Go
This
ahead.
is all I could have before we bought the place. I mean, so it's a known haunted location long before Henry Leeds ever took being the caretaker. refer myself to the Jack Nicholson of the jail. I am their caretaker. But it amazes me how, like I said, how much activity has been going on at this place for many, many years.
You know, and that's
Well,
when I got involved with the jail more often.
let me just say, like over here in the comments, it seems like you have quite the following. You know, someone commented they've been there 10 times to investigate and they're coming back. I think this weekend it said.
David Alcorn, the following weekend, he is one of our, and it's funny too, I'm going to put him on the spot. He's been there a couple times. I call him Coach Dave. He reminds me of a coach, a football coach. We're sitting there one night. He's like, you know, I really don't get that much activity from this jail. And I go, oh, really? I said, Spirits of Gilchrist, you hear this? And from that night, things really started happening for him. But like I said, when I scoff at something, I end up eating my words. Or like I said, I've never been frightened for my life per se, or felt something so negative that it scared me out of there. But I will say this, my wife, which is very much involved in the jail, she will no longer go upstairs.
Mm.
She's her mom was a
You don't
medium.
really like coming in the gathering room.
No, it's just too heavy for her. As sensitive as she is, it's like I said, I went there. I when we first got the place, I went there thinking in my scientific mind, yeah, right, okay, I'll make the judge, I'll make the call. And like what Ron was saying, when you're working on the place and not investigating, it might as well just be an old jail. But you start asking questions and you get those tools out and you start getting serious about things, it gets serious in there. It really does. I don't take it so lightly anymore when I'm in there, and I let our visitors know, hey, you don't want to provoke, you don't want to get these spirits mad at you because you signed a waiver when you came in, and we're not responsible for your stupidity. I just let them know, which I'm sure people be like, yeah, right. What's this guy gonna say that owns the place? Hence the cameras that are in there keep everyone honest. They're running.
Let's all investigate ethically, right? Let's all do it the right way and not be that person.
The probability. I think the probability if something wanted to kick off in the jail, it probably would. If everybody, because sometimes it gets to the point where it gets so heavy, and it's hard to breathe. I mean, sometimes it gets to the point it's very hard to breathe.
It is. Well, two of the inmates, Frank and Fred, were in cell 5, not at the same time, but both of those passed away of heart attacks. So people get a heavy feel in their chest. And like we were saying earlier about cell 4, someone was hung in there, or they hung themselves, or they were hung. It's hard to breathe when you're up there. It just feels, and I say that to everyone because, I'm looking for validation as well. I'll tell people before we go upstairs, hey, observe how you feel right now, and let me know by the time we get to cell 8 if you feel any differently. And that's a consensus of just visitors that are coming for historical tours. We have people from the Discovery Channel come out, the Naked and Afraid survivalists come out quite a bit. We went on a cruise with them, and they're not paranormal investigators either. And they'll say the same thing. It feels so gosh darn heavy up here, or my chest feels tight, or I feel like I'm being watched. This is a norm for upstairs in that jail.
Wow.
Lee, my wife won't ever go in that jail again either. So she felt it big time when she was there. She senses it like Cheryl. They have a lot in common.
Wow.
Not going to see her there.
I've had grown men go out of there with tears in their eyes. You just being overwhelmed by the energy, being overwhelmed by the experience. Full grown men like, I'm not going back in there.
Oh yeah,
Like I said,
that's the truth.
that is the
I've
truth.
seen, I've seen it. Men,
Actually,
guy got scratched. He got scratched and didn't know he was scratched until he got outside and looked at his wife and kind of blamed her for it. I don't know why, but yeah, he was upstairs and he was playing tough guy. You know, show me what you can do. Do something to me. Let me see how strong you are, because I don't believe in this. And as soon as he got outside the gates, he had marks like behind his neck, between his shoulder blades. It wasn't like the three like you see in the horror movie. It was one long, and you could actually see the welt start to like grow.
Rise. Mm-hmm.
And
Wow.
he said a few choice words, and him and his wife left.
Jeez. Well, gentlemen, we don't want to give away all the secrets of the Old Gilchrist County Jail on our show. We want people to go there and investigate it and, you know, get their own experience. So we thank you for coming on tonight. Henry, it sounds like you have a great building. We have taught to teams and building owners all in the South. And we think we're going to have to take like a month vacation to hit everywhere that we've talked about. And now we've just added your place to the list.
would love to host your team one night. Just give me a heads up, and I'll make sure there's room on the calendar for you guys. Another couple of notable places here in Florida is the May Stringer House, the Daffodil House. The May Stringer House is in Brooksville. The Daffodil House is in Monticello, which was a very interesting graveyard, which another thing I scoffed at. A guy says, "Oh, things will get thrown at you out there." And I'm like, okay. My wife and I got chased out of that cemetery. We had things skipping by us. And it's like, okay, it's time to go now.
Wow. Patrick, thanks for coming on. Thanks for the great story, Willie J. Ron, let's hope you get that award for the camera use. Yeah. I mean,
it won't be for lack of trying.
That's right. Sure. We look forward to watching for the announcement of the website and the cameras being live for subscribers. Yeah, and we will post that on our page as well.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we opened up an email for any of your viewers that want to know when we go live. They can go to CasperInvestigations@gmail.com, and that's Casper with a K. Copyright reasons, right? And they can say, please notify me when you go live, and we can tell them. It's another way they can
great.
Real quick, if any of your followers would like to peek in on us, look up the historical Gilchrist County Jail Facebook page. There's always updates, live feeds, things of that. We really appreciate our followers. I make it a big deal out of them because they're our heart and soul of this place.
Agreed. We do too. Well, thank you, gentlemen. I'm going to put you in the green room. I'll catch up with you when I close out the show.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Well, the Old Gilchrist County Jail sounds like an amazing place. And like I said, way out west and unraveling, obviously we're going to add that to our wish list of places to visit. We have so many, we've talked about it where the first month we felt we were a Tennessee podcast with a bunch of our now friends that live down there, and we need to go visit some places down there. Of course, Brushy Mountain's on my bucket list, and I think I'm adding Old Gilchrist County Jail to it. So we thank you all for watching tonight, and we will be back again next week.
Unraveling the Darkness would like to thank Horn Paranormal Research for sponsoring our show. If you're craving more paranormal content, don't forget to check out our YouTube and Facebook channels at Way Out West Paranormal and Unraveling the Darkness. You can catch all of our episodes of Unraveling the Darkness on Apple Podcasts, Facebook, and YouTube. Be sure to like and subscribe as it helps others find the show and join in on the paranormal fun. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, keep your lights on, stay safe, and remember, the truth is out there, and it might just be closer than you think.